Jerry Byrne, it was a terrible decision, but it happened to me. And Byrne, of course, a terrible thing, a broken collarbone, because it was grinding and hurting him. But Byrne should have got all the medals for the match. He was the hero. But there you are, that was a little bit of psychology and all. We didn't give our hand away. Nobody knew about it till the game was finished. So Byrne was one of the great players. Lawler could play. Tommy Smith, of course, was a brilliant player. Fantastic player. And Tommy Lawrence in goal did well and all. We were looking for a goalkeeper bigger than Tommy. Tall was thick set, but not tall enough. But Tommy did well, they all did well. But Tommy Smith was a great player, right from the 16-year-old. Tommy Smith was ready for the big team at 17. Not only was he a hard man, but he could play. And Yeats, of course, we talked about him. Willie Stevenson had his characteristics. He could drive balls 50 yards, pinpointed, you know. They all had a role to play. And then Gordon Milne, as I told you, was a carrier of messages and a midfield player who fetched and took the balls of his own defence and took the balls of their defence and picked them up and anticipated them and played them forward. We had Ian Callaghan, who was a crucial role to play, from 4-3-3 to 4-4-2. It was 4-2-4 then, because at that time, I mean, playing 4-4-2, you probably got booed off the pitch, you know. So Callaghan made it 4-2-4 into 4-3-3, because there's so much industry. He covered the back, and if he played against somebody like Man United and Bobby Charlton, who we didn't mention really, who was one of the greatest players of all time. Bobby Charlton was a fantastic player. I mean, I've seen him playing in a benefit match at Anfield in recent years, and he was the best player in the field. He beat Ray from outside the box and all with a shot. So when we played against players like Bobby Charlton, Callaghan dropped back and covered him, and we cut his service a little bit. So instead of him getting 4 passes, he might only get 2. So Callaghan was a crucial man in the setup, because he had the stamina to do that. Leaving Roger Hunt up the field, of course, and keep his strength, like Jimmy Greaves. And Roger could leather them in too. He was a brilliant player. He didn't slip them in the net like Greaves quietly. He battered them in. And then St John, of course, was a strong, sturdy, cunning player with, you knew you motivate him. He was one of the really key players who could be withdrawn to midfield, which they play now, and being the best midfield player in the game. Could play up the front, could play in midfield, could tackle, was good in the air, had brains and craft and everything. That leaves Tommy Smith, who had 10 in his back. He was sweeping up, of course. Despite the man said to me, he said, your inside right doesn't score many goals. He was only sweeping up at the back. Then Peter Thompson, of course, who was did more damage than anybody else indirectly by running past them and dribbling past them and giving you your money's worth, you know. I know one guy went to Anfield and after he'd seen Peter Thompson doing his tricks before the match, kicking it up, heading at his shoulder and his head, he said, I wasn't concerned about the match after that. He said, I'd got my money's worth watching him before the game. Peter Thompson, strong, like 11'9", a bone and muscle, great player. All my players were great players. Then had to change a bit. And Jeff Strong, of course. Jeff Strong was a very unlucky man that came when Tommy Smith had just started. Strong could have been one of the best sweeper-ups of all time. Could play in the middle of the field, could play at the back. He played some fantastic games for us. If we'd have got Jeff Strong 4 or 5 years earlier, boy, he'd have been an even greater player. But he could have played in any team in the world, Jeff Strong. He was cool as a cucumber, a brilliant brain, and he played against Celtic in the European Cup, Winners' Cup, with cartilage trouble and got us a winning goal. He played with cartilage before it, we knew it. So they were all great players for me. Then, of course, the team had to change. We were playing well, we had to go into the 3rd divisions, as I said, and buy Ray Clemenses and Larry Lloyds and Alec Lindsay's, because we couldn't pay £100,000 for a player then and play him in the reserve team. So the changing over, it wasn't as easy as it looked. I mean, men that had served the club and had put them on the map, had won the cup for the first time. See, winning the cup for the first time was the greatest emotional day for Liverpool in the history of time, because they played for 70-odd years to try and win the cup. Winning the European Cup was a great thing too, but that was virtually new. The FA Cup had been going on since football began, and Liverpool hadn't won it. And I think that was possibly the most emotional time of them all. And then when Jerry got his collarbone broken that day, we thought, oh dear, we're going to have a struggle now. But Jerry Byrne, nah. So then the changes had to be made. Ray Clemens had been here a few years. and he got 2 championship medals in the Central League before he got a game in the big team. As the Liverpool reserves have won the Central League 10 years out of the last 12, incidentally. So Ray had a couple of these medals before he got into the team. That's the second team league. That's 6 a bit of doing. So that the motto was he got into the habit of winning. So the first result I wanted to know after the match wasn't how anybody else got on, it was how did our reserve team got on. And before I'd left the ground away from home, I knew. 5 minutes after the game at Anfield, I knew how they'd gotten away from home. I said, get into the habit of winning, boys. It's a good habit. So that the reserve team was winning as well. That was the motto, win, win, win. Sometimes it didn't matter how you win, but as time went on and you got results and you got more confidence and you changed your pattern. You played better. You entertained as well as won.
What about Heighway?
Heighway, yeah. Stevie was a great signing, yeah. He was at Warwick University, Warwick and Coventry. Playing for Skelmersdale, and I went to Coventry to see him at his university headquarters, you know. And there was a lot of clubs after him then. There was a club phoned him that night I got into the place. The phone had rang and it was another club. So there was plenty of teams after Stevie. He was approaching his 23rd birthday then. He was nearly due to finish university, which of course he did, and he came out qualified, which was good. Oh, it was a revelation. Yeah. Oh, a breath of fresh air. Electric quickness and clever, and we're lucky to get him because Peter Thompson had got 1 or 2 injuries and slowed down a bit. And Stevie came in, of course. Stevie, we couldn't keep him out. That was the whole sum and substance. We had to play him. It would have been a terrible thing not to play him because he had pace and ability to beat men and a good attitude to the game. So Stevie came in and he was one of them that made an impression right away. All the time, of course, Callaghan was still there. Playing in all the games.
You had Haley?
Yeah, with Tony Haley, yeah. Well, we got Tony for a specific purpose. We'd got Tony Haley when he was a boy, we'd have made a better player of him because we gave him a job to do, which he did. If we had Tony Haley young, we'd have got somebody else to play alongside of him that would have took advantage of his abilities. He was one of the greatest headers of all time.
He's got some fantastic goals.
That's correct. Brilliant, and we'd have utilised him for what it was worth. Because we'd Callaghan and Thompson, you see, who could get down the flanks and cross balls. And no matter who it was, I mean, it's still always dangerous. It's an elementary way of playing, but it isn't really if you've got a header like Haley, or Lawton, or Dean.